Welcome back to another episode of the Ultimate Deck Podcast. I'm your host, Shane Chapman, here with Wade Laurent today. We're on episode number, who cares? Because I think we've hit double digits. We've got a lot of them now, so we have a good library of listening for people to do now on their way to work.
Sounds like we're getting some good feedback as well, right? People like what's happening, so I guess we'll keep on keeping on.
I guess so. So today's topic is, why would you ever buy Trex? And I know what that sounds like. It sounds like we're about to go on a bit of a rip here and rip Trex into pieces, but this is actually part of a new series we're going to do where we go through each of the brands that we're familiar with and we kind of give you the, well, no, really, why would you actually buy it? What are the reasons?
Yeah, sort of some of the ways that we sell it in the store, right? When people walk in and they ask, what's good about this line? What's great about this line? Why would I buy this one over that one? We'll go through that. Yeah,
and we should be clear that this is not a sponsored post in any way. So we're not just going to read off what Trex wants you to think their best attributes are. This is what we actually believe from an unbiased perspective about what's good about their lines of decking. And maybe we'll throw the odd thing in there too that we're a little bit concerned about or that we have, that people should know about. Obviously, every brand and every line has a pro and a con, or maybe 10 pros and a con, but we'll share those and give you, if you're walking into somebody's house and they're saying, why would I go with Trex? This is why we're doing this. We want to be able to give you the answers that you can use.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through this kind of line by line through Trex. Let's start with an overall picture of Trex, and then we'll go into the line by line, because as you know, if you're in the industry, not every line of decking within the same brand has the same kind of pros and cons or attributes. They'll admittedly call their lines good, better, and best. So obviously the good stuff is going to have some flaws
reasons it's not as good.
Reasons it's not as good. Some things you're giving up to save on price point. But let's go to Trex as a whole. Obviously, Trex is the brand in composite decking. These guys are the Coca-Cola, the Kleenex of the industry. That one always sounds a little funny. It's like the bugger thing. But the point being, it's the brand that people think of to define the entire category. People walk in and say, I want a Trex deck. And they're not actually meaning they want the Trex brand deck. They mean they want a composite deck. But that's what they're familiar with. So, that's a big pro right there in itself. If you're going to buy a Trex deck, you are buying the industry-leading product from a company that's been around a long time, that's not going anywhere, that has innovated a lot in the industry.
Yeah, and speaking of innovation, just recently they've done a bunch, right? It's been a company that was not doing a whole lot of stuff. They weren't making a lot of changes. They had their lineup. It was solid. They were doing well, and now they've made some changes. So
yeah. So some of the more kind of why Trex from a why Trex over wood or other like types of products. There's some benefits there too. The fact that it's not going to splinter. You don't require any no staining, no painting.
Yeah, you'll never stain a Trex deck, right? Which is nice.
Pretty tough. Yeah, pretty tough to do that. It's not going to fade. There's
and when I say stain, I mean like sand it down, put a coat of oil on it, right?
Yeah.
Not stain like...
Not that you can't stain it.
You can stain it.
It does have a fade and stain warranty, but there are some parameters around that to make sure that it doesn't, right?
Certainly.
But composite deck as a whole, today's generation of products, Trex's entire lineup, you don't have those worries, that maintenance, that, my backyard's a job, not somewhere to enjoy it, right? It's just a beautiful... I'm still going to say maintenance-free deck, and if you watch our show or podcast, you'll know why I say that. Low maintenance, depending on who you ask.
I saw you came around on composite today. That was good. So far, you've already said the Canadian version. So
I'm back to saying that. Don't remind me. So Trex as a whole, like the composite category, capped composite category as a whole, is a great product category. It's got so many benefits over traditional wood decking and even traditional kind of first generation composite decking that wasn't capped, because you're protecting yourself from that fade and stain now. So Trex is going to give that to you. We'll go right into their warranty. They've got a 25-year fade and stain warranty. So it's going to take some effort to stain that. If you squirt down an entire bottle of olive oil on it and leave it all summer to bake, it's probably going to set in a little bit. But the point is, spill some of that olive oil off the barbecue. Doesn't really matter. Clean it up, wash it off right away. It's not going to stain. Old generation stuff would stain the second the oil even looked at it. Like you were inside your house going through the recipe book, and while you were looking at recipes, your deck was staining. That's how bad that stuff was.
Yep.
It was shitty. Let's be honest.
It was, yeah.
So I mean, for the most part, that's been solved. It's, you slop something, wash it off.
I always tell everybody in the store when I'm talking to, customers or contractors, given enough effort, anything can happen. You can scratch it. If you drag a lawn chair across there and there's a rock under there, or if you don't have casters on your barbecue and you push it across the deck, like you're putting in some effort, you'll scratch the deck. Yeah. That happens.
Yeah.
If you spill something on your deck and you leave it there forever and pay zero attention to it, it'll likely stain your deck. Pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So anyways, given enough effort, anything will happen.
That's right. So. Yeah. I've got vinyl flooring in my house that's supposed to be, you can't stain it, whatever, too. But I found out
challenge accepted.
Yeah, if you let's just say, for example, you had some sort of flower planter wood that was dyed red sitting on the floor, Ooh. And then your dog pissed on that, and it sat there all day without you knowing, that'll leach out and stain your floor. So same story goes. For composite decking. Anyways, a little bit of bleach and saran wrap, and that stain came right out of there. It's gone. It's good as new.
Googling the greatest stuff.
That's right. So anyways, let's get into the Trex lineup. As we mentioned, they've got a good, better, best. That's changed a little bit. So in 2000...
My disclaimer here is I am going to say the word bad. I want everybody to know that I don't think any of Trex's products are bad, but that is a word that will absolutely come out of my mouth for sure, and I don't know why, but... Good, better, best.
Tourette's. That's why.
Yeah, Tourette's, yeah. Or I'll say something like, this is not as good. That doesn't mean I don't think it's good. I think all of these products are better than wood. And then when we start to talk about brand, like about Trex's products within their lineup, I have favorites in that lineup. So
that's a mild form of Trex when all you do is shout the word bad.
Bad.
Yeah. Bad. That's pretty.
That's my disclaimer.
Anyway, so prior to 2019, the Trex lineup started with the Trex Select line, went into the Trex Enhance line, went into the Trex Transcend line, and then they had kind of a sub-line out of that called the Trex Transcend Tropical line, which had the pretty coloring in it. That got all blowed up this year. So they, like you had mentioned, that their lineup was fairly consistent for quite a few years. There were a lot of changes happening from multiple brands this year, and all of a sudden Trex shows up to the party and is like, kicks the door in and says, hey, here's how things are going to be.
It's like the Kool-Aid guy blowing through the wall. That's right. How I feel like Trex came to the party this year.
Everybody else kind of released these like little 1 and 2 boards and some colors here and there. And they were kind of like, yeah, we're going to get a little bit cheaper this year, a little bit more consumer friendly. And Trex is like, boom, whole new lineups. The whole thing's changing. And then that, which is funny because then all of a sudden everybody else had to react because they are the big dog, right? When they bark, everybody else kind of steps back and says, okay, well, we need to do something about this.
Yep.
So it appeared as though they reacted, but they went so over the top that it forced everybody else to react back again. So it's kind of interesting that way. But anyways, now the way the lineups work is that in your good category, you've got your Trex, the new and Trex Enhance. So this is going to get confusing for people because Trex Enhance used to be their better line, used to be their middle of the road line. And now that's kind of shifted forward or backwards, depending how you look at it, to be their entry line, their good line. So now Trex Enhanced Basics is their solid color, no variegated color in it, good line. And they've got Trex Enhanced Naturals, same quality of board, same embossing, same fluting on the back, scallops, whatever you want to call it. Everything about it's the same, other than it's got some streaked colors running through it as well. Into their, I guess Trex Select would also still fall into their good line. I don't know how they're doing that. Or does Trex Select go into their, I don't know.
If you're going to call it based on price point, right? If we decide that price point is what has defined good, better, best, obviously they've done some stuff to achieve those price points. You've taken something away from your board. Durability, amount of product that's in it, whatever. That's how you're setting your price points. That's what we're going to use to set our good, better, best lineup.
Yeah, so I guess with that criteria, and you know what, Trex Select maybe would get classified into my better category, only because it's a full thickness board, it's not scalloped. I think it's probably a hair more durable than the new Enhanced line, so maybe that pushes that into the better category.
Cortex available for it.
Cortex is available, yeah, that's a big one too, right? So that would be the better. Their best is still their best.
Do you think anybody has a video on Instagram of somebody putting a Cortex plug in? Like, I'd like to see that.
Maybe we could put a call out there and see if anybody's willing to shoot that and put it up there. And tag us, because I
just have no idea how that would work.
You've never seen it done before, right? Only 143 times per week. Anyways, it's
Let's
cool.
get at it.
Like everyone wants to do it because it's cool, right? But anyways, up to their best line, which is still their Trex Transcend line, which is largely unchanged this year. The non-variegated ones did go through an embossing change, which does look better, but the quality of the board didn't change.
Did Enhanced stick around? So we have Enhanced Basic, then we have Enhanced Naturals, which is a color, like the streaked one.
Yeah.
Select, and then they have dropped Enhanced.
So
As
formally,
we used to know it, right?
Trex has dropped that, yeah. But I think in market, in distribution, you're still going to see it out there.
Right,
Like I
because
know
there's like $2 billion worth of it floating
Yeah.
around in the world. So the distributors and yards are wanting to unload that, right?
So we know that our distributor in Canada still has the old Generation 1 Enhance
G1
available.
Yeah.
So, but I think as far as Trex is concerned, it's no longer part of their active lineup.
Right, okay. Transcend G2, Generation 2 for those that are
This could get really sticky.
trendy as us. And then Tropical Transcend.
What they consider their active lineup and what's in market, how that looks, could be very different.
Sure.
Right? You've got Enhanced Basics, Select, Enhanced G1, Transcend G1, Transcend G2,
Tropical
Transcend.
No G6 yet.
No G6. And then their super secretive board they're going to launch in the next couple of years here we keep hearing about that we're waiting for them to like bring us down and show us it because why wouldn't you want to?
Yep. We have 100 followers.
Anyway, how much time have we wasted here? We're 12 minutes in. People are almost done their drive to work and they're like, come on, get on with it. I've learned nothing yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with the Trex Enhanced Basics line. So the Trex Enhanced Basics comes in 3 colors. It's the same colors that the old Enhanced G1 stuff came with. We were talking about whether we're going to try to remember all these new colors in this thing or not, but
It's gonna be
I don't
tough,
know that
right?
it's worth it, but we can like...
So you have Saddle, Beach Dune, and Clamshell.
Yeah, this one's a little bit easier. It's the next one that's going to be tougher to remember all the colors. But
Yeah.
anyways, this board is one of the brand new ones. It is scalloped. It's got the 6 ribs on the back. It's got fairly deep scallops, but 5 deep scallops in it. So that's how they've managed to bring the cost down on these boards. It's a new capping, a new embossing. I shouldn't say new capping, but a new embossing. Everything about it is new. It's a brand new product that we haven't seen in North America. They haven't had scalloped boards to this point.
Yeah.
So same technical way that it's extruded, I believe. Like the cap is still a half cap into the groove, but not on the backside, which is how their entire lineup is. It's been fine forever.
If we could just get to the plant and see how this is actually done, right?
Yeah,
we've been to brand A's plant.
Yeah,
And we've
brand
been to
B's
brand
plant.
F's plant.
Offers from brand C, D, E, F plant, but somehow we're just not at T yet. That's the problem. We're not at T yet. They haven't invited us yet. Anyway, so pros. Let's go through the pros. Why would you ever buy Trex Enhance Basics?
So my immediate go-to is price point.
Price.
That's it, right? It's not that anything else is bad, but the price point is good.
It's the biggest good, right?
Yep.
It's the number one reason to look at this board because it's super attractive. It's about $1 a linear foot cheaper than anything they've ever had before.
Correct. So I like the embossing on it quite a bit. It's not really deep. I think that's a good move on their part.
Yeah, so it does have a nice...
Slightly deeper than the Select.
I would say
embossing.
this is much nicer than the Select embossing.
Yep.
Personally. I'm still not... There's something about it that it reminds me of Tamco's embossing a little bit, and I have never really liked that embossing. I think it's the pits. It's like those little pits. Like, it's good, but I'm not in love with it. I like their Transcend line embossing much more.
Right.
It's just these little pits look kind of funny. But you know what? It's probably the best looking... One of the best looking entry level composites from a good brand name board.
Correct.
Another pro, you're still getting their full warranty on this thing, right? Right? I believe
huge.
that's the case.
Yep.
25 years, fade and stain, and structural.
Yep.
So people are always concerned, like, what about these little ribs that are moved out of the back? It's
Yeah,
like,
that's
these
the
things
most questions we've had so far, right? People walk in, they're like, the back is all scalloped. Is that any good?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. That'll be fine. There'll be no issues with that.
Yeah.
If there is, Trex they're the company that's going to stand behind that.
Yeah.
They had issues with their board breaking apart,
Generation 1 stuff. Yeah.
whatever, right? And they dealt with it.
Yeah.
They stood up to the plate, paid the piper, cliche number 3 coming
and rose
whatever.
to number 1, like, big time again, right?
Yep.
So, but if you think about, so people always ask about this scallop thing, and it's like, yes, if this thing was a full one thickness, it would be stronger technically, but it far exceeds the required strength tests and brake tests that are required for your deck to meet code, to meet and exceed code. So there's nothing to worry about there. Nobody's going to fall through this. If you think about this though, like how do you frame a floor? You put ribs down, spaced apart, and then you put sheeting over top. This is not much different. It's got ribs through the thing, and it's got a thin piece over top. Like, it's still strong. It's kind of the way everything's framed and
just no
topped,
nails
right?
or screws on the top.
No nails or screws. Yeah, groove boards again, so you don't need to screw it down. So, like, super attractive, I think. It's a very good, like, they had to make this move, I think.
Yeah.
Or else they were going to get, like, that gap was going to close. I think this gives them, these boards might even exceed, like, they might expand their lead. Had they not done this, I feel like they would have got chiseled away at a little bit. But I feel like they made such a leapfrog over everybody this year that this may actually expand their lead.
So their goal by launching this board was to take more market share from wood, because everybody knows that wood is it's still king, right? Wood is still the one that, you know, it makes up the majority of the market share. Do you think that board is going to take market share from wood?
No, not as much as they do.
It's way too big a gap, right?
It's certainly a welcome treat because it's closed the gap significantly. You know, like Trex Select last year for us would have been about a 4x, 4 times multiplier over a 5/4.
Yeah, we had it at 369 a lineal foot,
379,
right?
I think, and we had treated at 94 cents or something to that, right? A linear foot on a 5/4 by 6 deck board. So on a straight up treated pine SPF board, it was still 4 times the cost. Now that was just the board versus the board. Once you put your framing and your railing, and if all that other stuff was equal, then the cost the whole project wasn't 4 times. It would end up like 2.5 to 3 times. But this now has brought us down to about a 2.5 multiplier, maybe a hair over a 2.5 multiplier. So it's made a significant dent in it for sure. But it's still quite a bit above wood for somebody, you know, like...
Yeah, somebody doing a $1,300 deck isn't going to jump into the $2,000 deck.
Yeah.
Right?
So it'll be interesting to see
somebody doing 2x6 decking. Now all of a sudden you're closer, right? That 5/4, if somebody was doing a 5/4 by 6 decking, it's unlikely they're making the change to this product. If somebody was doing a 2x6 decking, now you're close, right? Yeah. That's $1.50, $1.70 a lineal foot. So to move to 3, that's not as bad.
It'll for sure get the fringe people, right?
Some cedar people will likely flop.
Yeah. But so those people last year that were kind of like, oh man, boy, it's close. Like we really want to do the Trex, but it's just like a hair out of our budget. Those people will now flip.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to see a mass exodus of market from wood to composite as a result of this, unfortunately.
You haven't sold all our inventory and put all that stock into Trex right now?
Yeah, no, not quite. So it's definitely good. It's definitely closer. It'll definitely help some switch over, but I don't know it's going to be as big as they're hoping, but we'll see. I mean, who knows? Every market's a little bit different too, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We're always speaking from our frame of reference, which is here, which is our prices. You know, other markets may be a little bit different. So anyways, I guess the Cole's Notes version of this is that it's a great board at a good price point. The only knocks on this, I would say, realistic knocks, scratches a little bit easy.
It does. It's matted, and I think that's part of the reason that scratch is showing up. I don't know that I would want it to be shiny.
No, yeah, that's
right,
because right away it looks like plastic if it's shiny. Right?
Yeah, so scratch is a little easy.
Yeah.
So
and I like it's solid color. You know.
It probably has more to do with the fact that it's a solid color than it does with the like how it actually scratches, the durability of the cap, right? When you look at the Naturals line that has some streaking and variation in it, that board doesn't seem to scratch as much. It probably scratches equally, but since there's some variegation on the surface of it, you don't notice it.
Yeah,
right? I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, that goes for all solid colored boards. You can see the scratches a little bit easier.
Yep.
Which we like to know things around here. So as soon as something new comes in, we kind of put it through our little test. And so we got a bunch
comes the hammer and the keys and the
So we did that,
yeah.
right? And it did scratch a little bit easier than some of the other newer products that were coming out there. But that's just this line. If you want something that's a little bit more durable, you can go up to their better lines, which we'll get to. So it's not a Trex problem. It's just that the Enhance is just a little bit less durable than the upper lines.
Have you ever seen anybody actually pull a key out at your house? So your deck is installed and you're out there and you want to, bring a buddy over and have some drinks, and guy's like, oh yeah, nice composite deck you have here. Out with the key, down on his hands and knees, scratch. I'd be tempted to kick him in the ribs,
That'd
I think.
be for sure a friends off moment right there.
Yeah.
Like that'd be the end of that.
Or a sledgehammer.
I'd go up to his car. Be like, well,
it looks like this thing
while we're at it,
is pretty easy, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways,
the next up is the Trex Enhanced Naturals line. Now, this board is exactly same profile, exactly same quality. It's the same line. It's just the only thing that's different is the coloring. There's 5 colors in this line. They're all very heavily variegated.
I think this is a home run for Trex.
This might be.
I truly believe that. I think that their enhanced basics will do well. I think their enhanced naturals is going to crush.
Yep. So same benefits, same drawbacks. Like it's a little bit soft, so it's scratch a little bit easier, but it's a great price point. It's obviously a little bit more than their solid color boards. It's going to cost, around $1 a linear foot more likely in most markets. So there's going to be that. But it's beautiful.
Yep.
Like you can't say that about the Enhanced Naturals line. It is what it is. It's a solid color board. Its only main goal is price point. This stuff actually looks very nice.
Yep.
At a price point that's half of what you used to have to pay to get some color in a Trex board, right? Last year you had to go to Transcend Tropical to get a variegated color board. Now you get it at their entry-level price point.
Yeah, in our store, the first time you could get variegation was $5.99 a lineal foot.
Yeah.
Tropical Transcend.
Yeah.
The premium board. So this is great.
When you're knocking over $2 linear foot off and you're getting something that's arguably, it's got probably almost as much streaking in it as the Transcend line.
Yep.
But you are, like I said, you are giving up a little bit of durability. It's going to scratch a little bit easier. It's ribbed if you care. It doesn't have Cortex available for it. So that's the other knock too. But at the price point, great option. And there's 5 colors, right? You should be able to find something that works for you. That's another thing that I would say is maybe a bit of a catch-22 here, is that I don't know that they've nailed it on all these colors. They're super close. Like now we're gonna tease ourselves here, test ourselves on if we can remember what colors they are.
Okay, so I think Coastal Bluff missed the mark a little bit. I think it's peach, but we've talked about this already.
Is that one called Coastal Bluff?
I thought so.
Oh damn! I thought the Coastal Bluff is the dark brown one. I was gonna say they nailed that one. We're gonna have to run and grab our samples here. You might be right. Wade's running to grab more of them here. I've got Foggy Wharf, which is kind of like the light.
Foggy Harbor.
Yeah. Coastal Bluff. See?
Yeah, you're right.
Foggy Wharf is the light, kind of whitish gray one, like a super light gray. Coastal. So this one, I hope, like I think it'll do well, but it could be too white. It might be too stark for some people. I don't know.
I think it's great.
It's close.
Yeah.
So very attractive, regardless. The other ones we have are like the one I think they nailed is that Coastal Bluff. That brown one I think is perfect. It's like spiced rum, but it's more neutral brown.
Yep.
It's not so like, it doesn't have that oranginess to it. It's not so, what's the word I'm looking for? Bright, vibrant. It like
Ooh,
some of those
good word.
Some of those Trex Transcend colors are very vibrant to the point that people are maybe they're too vibrant. And this one I think is a nice subdued dark brown with some black streaking. It looks great. That's Coastal Bluff. I think it looks awesome.
Yep. Rocky Harbor is the one that's a little peach, but
Rocky Harbor is another one where I think it's like maybe a shade or two off from being super well adopted, but it's close. It's like a peachy gray.
Yeah.
It's a strange color.
We'll see it in the wild this year, and maybe my opinion will change.
Yeah.
So
yeah, there's 5 colors. The other colors are similar to their Transcend line ones. So they've got kind of like a Havana Goldy colored one, and they've got a Lava Rock colored-y one.
Yep.
So they got a red and a yellow in there, a brown, and then 2 grays that aren't really grays. One's kind of white bluey gray and one's kind of peachy gray. So anyways, great line, great price point. They're beautiful. That's why you should buy Trex Enhance.
Naturals.
Great price point, good looking boards.
Yep.
Trex Select, next up on the docket.
Trex Select. I think it's going to lose some market share.
Has to. Right?
Same board. There's nothing wrong with it. They've made their other lines so strong that at a same price point as a streaked board, I have no idea why you would pick a plain color. Maybe the Cortex is a big thing for you. So Trex Select at 7/8 of an inch thick. Everybody knows it. Everybody's used it. They have some confidence in it over this, right? So maybe for a couple of years it'll still do well because of, just going back to the old well, you know what you're getting.
Yeah. I think they're like, to steal a phrase from Gary Vee, who I listen to all the time, I think they're being a little bit romantic about the past on the Trex Select line.
Maybe.
All they ever say is like, well, that one did so well for us. Like, yeah, it did before you had these other new wicked boards at a lower price point, right? Yeah. So I'm sure it'll still do well because there's some unique colors to it. Like the grays are the pebble gray at least is more neutral than either of the grays in the Trex Enhanced Natural line. The clamshell would be a good neutral gray too, and they've got that Winchester gray, which is kind of that bluey gray, which maybe
it's darker, right?
It's quite dark. Yeah, it's darker than anything else that's in these new lines. So there might be some applications where those two colors still work. Somebody's got kind of a deep bluey gray stuccoed house or a commercial building that has that. If they want to use Cortex, then that's still an option. To clarify price point wise, Trex Select is going to be priced at exactly the same price point as the Enhanced Naturals line. Still 5 colors available, but they're all solid. The embossing I've never been a fan of the embossing on the Trex Select line. It's fine. It's all very kind of open end grain, points the same direction. You got to be OCD about how you lay your boards with it.
Or don't be OCD at all, right?
Or
Mix
don't.
it up,
yeah,
right?
One or the other. And yeah, it's fine. It's a good board. It's got the same warranty. It's probably more durable than these ones, I would think, maybe. But it's going to show those scratches a lot because it's kind of a glossy finish to it.
And again, solid color, right? Solid
and
color.
And flat embossing, right? Really flat, not deep embossing. It's shallow.
Yeah.
So Trex Select is still an active line. It's a great product. If the colors work for you, great. We personally think that the new ones are going to steal a big chunk of Select's numbers unless somebody specifically wants a color that they can't find in the enhanced line that's going to work.
Yeah.
Or if they're really hard up for plugs. But I don't know that that's a big enough reason. I don't think somebody would be like, I'm going to go to the color I don't like as much because I can hide the screws better. I think they'll go with the color first.
Yeah.
Worry about the 99.9% of the deck that you see and worry about like the screws you can make.
Try and hide the screws some other way, right? So.
Yeah, like drive them deep and fill them with silicone like Greaseball would do, right?
So people often ask what we have on our own personal decks. Mm-hmm. I have Winchester Gray. I have Trex Select Winchester Gray on my own personal deck. So the board is good. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing's changed with it. There's nothing wrong with it now. It's just like it used to be a very attractive board. It's just that they've outdone themselves with another line of even more attractive boards. So whatever, like the consumer wins. You've got more options now at lower price points, and they're all beautiful. So Transcend. So now we're into
G1.
G1, if it's still around, there's a couple differences. So G1 Transcend line, the non-tropical stuff has had a change. There, you used to have your colors were your rope swing and what else was in there? Your fire pit and your treehouse and your gravel path. So those boards all used to be
vintage lanterns.
Yeah, solid colors, a deep embossing on them. They look good. There was kind of a swirly pattern embossing to it. And I don't know that anybody knows why that had a different embossing than the tropical line, but it did. And so now they've embossed it with an embossing that's, I don't know if it's exactly the same. I think it's the same as the tropical line.
I thought they said they switched to the same wheel.
Yeah, it looks way better. Like it's a subtle change.
Yep.
It's just the embossing. The colors they look like they could be slightly different, but they're supposed to be very, very similar colors, like the same colors. But the embossing's changed, and it just looks newer and fresher. It just looks nicer.
Yeah, I think the part that I like more about G2 than G1 is the depth of that embossing.
Yeah.
I don't know that the pattern makes a huge difference to me. When I was looking at it personally, I didn't care whether it had a big swirl pattern in it or had a knot in there. But the depth of the grain has changed, and I think that's for the better. when you have, so we live in the prairies, there's a little bit of dust that blows around, right? It's kind of breezy and stuff. I think that deep embossing fills with dirt, right? And your deck is kind of dirty, and
It can, yep.
it leads to, being a little more vulnerable to scratching and stuff. So with a shallower embossing, I think that deck will look better
Yep.
going forward.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's something about it that just looks a little bit more modern. And the only way I could maybe describe it would be like going from oak, which is dated, to, well, and maybe coming back, but oak, which was once, golden oak, dated look, kind of lots of grain, lots of knot, kind of whatever, to like a maple, more of a like less grain, more hairline, just looks more modern.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what they've done there. The other thing that I just about forgot to talk about in that is that they removed the wood out of the cap, and that's a big one.
that was big.
There used to be wood in the cap. So if you're not familiar with how composite decking works, nowadays the capped composites are a blend of recycled plastic. In Trex's case, it's 95% recycled plastic and wood filler essentially in the cap of the board. But because that wood can bleach and absorb stains and whatnot, they years and years ago began capping it with a pure layer of plastic. At least most people were doing it with a pure layer. In Trex's case, they still had wood fleck in the cap. And I know, I've asked the question 100 times. I don't know what the reason was for that, but they've stopped doing that with the new generation of boards. There's no more wood in the cap. Hooray! Finally, there's no more wood in the cap. We don't have to answer that question and not have an answer anymore. So that's a great thing. The only other minor change, and it's happening across the lineup, is they've put that small chamfer on the back side of the corner of the board to eliminate the howling decks, the whistling decks. So if you're not familiar with that problem, if you built a Trex deck in a certain area and it was, X number of inches off the ground and the wind was coming in just right, it would hit the bottom of that deck and you'd have like your own marching band in your backyard. It's like, you'd have a singing deck. And like people couldn't believe it until they actually saw it, heard it for themselves. It's like, yeah, no, the thing is whistling in the backyard. So it's very rare circumstance, but you put the right number of variables in place and it would do that. And so now they've put the small chamfer on the backside corners, edges, to eliminate that, your musical deck. So that's good.
How many hours do you think went into that research? Like how many engineers, how many people spent too much time coming up with, let's just cut it on a 45 on the backside?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was a trip down to like an aerodynamics. They probably went to Boeing. We're like, hey,
Right.
So anyway, aerodynamics, how do you make your jets not whistle?
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows, right? It was a simple fix, but who knows how long, like how much testing went into it. Who knows how much testing would have went into it just to find out what the variables were that would cause it to sing.
Yeah,
like you'd have to be trying all sorts of things to try to figure that out.
Wild.
Because for a long time, you just weren't getting any help from
Nobody
Trex.
believed us.
Yeah, you
right?
go to your rep or whatever and be like, listen, this is happening. They're like, come on, like,
come on, buddy.
What are you talking about? And then eventually, the more it came up, the more they started to learn about it. And then the solution was, well, skirt in your deck and stop the wind from getting in there.
Maybe,
in the first place. So.
maybe if you bought more Trex, it would stop.
Yeah.
You should just put Trex around the bottom now. Okay.
So anyways, they had some kind of like some workarounds
Yeah.
to kind of stop in the past, but they've actually addressed the issue now. This is good. It's a good thing. So the Trex Transcend line,
Price point went up on that one.
price point went up on it. So it used to be that Trex Transcend solid colors were a little bit cheaper than the Transcend cousins.
Less expensive? That's something you and I do all the time. You use the word cheaper. I think cheap implies quality.
Did I say cheaper?
You did.
Well, they were cheaper. That's why I said that.
Yeah.
So they used to be lower cost,
I was implying
same
less
quality.
money. Yeah.
But just because they didn't have the variegation in it, they've now gone up this year to the same price, whether you're getting variegated colors or not. So the benefits, let's make sure we talk about the benefits of the Transcend line. The benefits are a deeper, more realistic looking embossing.
Not deeper, a better looking embossing.
Yeah, so
right?
not necessarily
shallower
deeper anymore.
But, yeah.
Deeper than Select, but yeah. So better looking, I think, in my opinion. More durable is going to be the biggest one, right? It's compared to the Enhanced or the Select line, it's a little bit more durable to scratching and whatnot.
Full inch thick.
Full inch thick, Cortex available.
Wood out of the cap.
Wood's gone, yep.
What else? Maybe that might be enough.
I mean, when you're talking about the Tropical line, like just better looking as a whole, I think. They're really good looking boards.
Yep.
So we'll transition now into the Tropical line. Same benefits because it's the same quality board. The Tropical line, very aggressive black streaking in it. So some people love that. Most people love that. Some people don't. They think it's too aggressive, whatever, but the coloring is beautiful.
So the other advantage that you might see now is if you're mixing a Transcend picture frame on a tropical deck, your grain pattern on those boards are going to be similar.
Now matches, yeah.
That's not like in our store, that hasn't been an issue. We haven't had people say like, I'm not putting this board on this other company's board because the graining doesn't match. It's just one of those, maybe it's like the devil's in the details, right? And so if your picture frame grain matches your main area of your deck, people might, they might not notice that. They might just think it looks better and they don't know why. And that could be part of it. Right?
It comes up from time to time. Like for sure, I've had that especially with Fibron, because they have a very unique, flat, smooth embossing, and it doesn't look good when you pair it with something that's got a more kind of realistic, pairing Trex and Fibron doesn't look right. Pairing anything with Fibron doesn't really look right because the embossing's so different, so unique. I should clarify.
That was like on the Advantage line. Right?
On Horizon and Protect Advantage. Outside of that, you've got different embossings in the Fibron line. Yeah. But the smooth one doesn't seem
This
to
isn't
pair
why
well
to buy
with
Fibron, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. Same warranty again, 25 years, fade, stain, you're protected. Great warranty, great company. It's been around forever. If you have an issue, you should be able to find some help with that.
You glossed right over that 95% recycled plastic. I think that's a big thing for Trex, right?
Yeah.
I think they're pretty proud of that. Yeah. I think it's something they should be proud of. That's a big deal.
So we've been, and asterisk, not Trex's plant. Again, hint, hint. We'd love to come down and see your plant, but we've seen other plants, recycling plants, where the plastic's coming through. It's unbelievable. You find, like, when you walk into one of those places, you get a sense of how much crap is being pulled out of the landfills and out of the earth and being used for another good purpose. And this stuff is going to last. Like, they warranty it for 25 years. Let's be honest. If it's in a good, well-ventilated area and the structure underneath stays okay, it's going to last longer than that, right? So you're taking all this crap out of the landfill. You're doing a good solid on the environment, and you're ending up with a board that's going to last forever while being environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You're taking a bunch of garbage. It's garbage.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's what it is. It's garbage. And so now we've transitioned it into your backyard, right? It's
the best looking pile of garbage in your backyard.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Right? So the other benefit of Trex as a whole, not line specific, is that they've got everything to go along with your deck, right?
Smokes,
if you want to Trex out, you could literally build your entire deck out of Trex. Like you could do Trex elevation steel framing, you could do your Trex decking, you can do your Trex railing,
Trex rain escape
underneath that, Trex storage boxes, Trex kitchens, Trex furniture. It goes on and on.
Trex
pergola, lighting, you name it, you could do it, right? So it's a very in-depth line, and if you become a Trex fan, like, nerd out. You could do the whole thing in it.
Yeah, they do the decking.
Yeah.
From start to finish.
Yeah.
Right? We haven't done anything with elevations yet. You have somebody talking about it now that are interested in some steel framing, so we'll see. Yeah,
steel framing's still pretty new in our market, so people are asking a little bit about it, but it's not been a big thing, whatever, But anyway, yeah, it's the brand, right? I guess to wrap it all up, to sum it all up, why would you buy Trex? Well, we've just given you 104 reasons, a couple things to know, right? I don't know that there's any knocks about that Transcend line. Like, you could say it's like
G2 Transcend line?
G2 Transcend line. Like, it's not capped on the back, so you can't put it like on the ground or on a dock. It's not recommended above water, but I mean,
that's not new to Trex, though.
Yeah, and those are pretty rare circumstances. Like, whatever. That's not a knock on the line. It just is what it is. Every product ever has some use cases you can't use it in, and that's theirs.
Yeah, and it's probably one of those things where you maybe shouldn't build for the 10%.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Or it's probably less than that, right? It's probably
2%,
whatever, 1%, 2%. Yeah. So, anyways, across the line, a great lineup of colors and price points and options. You're getting a good product no matter which one you go with. It's what your budget can afford. The Transcend line does have some significant benefits over their enhanced line, but it's twice the money too, right? If you're going to spend $2 and some cents a linear foot, you're going to give some sacrifices up for something that you would have got at a $6 board. So just be wary of that. Ask the questions. Visit Trex's website. They have a Why Trex thing on there. It's not going to be as unbiased as we were. It'll be the only Trex side of the story. But we just want to bring you a perspective that's honest and unbiased as we can be. We wouldn't carry Trex in the store if we didn't think it was an absolutely great product. We've had it for the 3 years. It's been great. It's exactly what you'd expect.
Yeah, and it's brand awareness, right? So I think some of the reason we've had so much success selling products is because we're unbiased. When somebody asks me about a board, does this board scratch? Yep, it does. I think you have to do that with your customers, and if you answer that with your customers right away, I think they'll trust you a little bit more. And then you can also talk about the other lines and the benefits of them, and they'll believe that too, because you've already told them the truth about the entry-level lines. This is going to scratch. If you're looking for a board that doesn't scratch, here it is.
Yep.
Here's your enhanced or your Transcend line.
I can't remember how the saying goes. There's a saying out there, and I'm gonna botch it big time here.
Here we go.
But it's something to the effect about if you deliver information to a customer ahead of time, it's knowledge. But if you deliver it to it after the fact, it becomes an excuse. So in the example of a scratching deck board, if you tell a customer before they buy a board, listen, like set the expectations, right?
Yeah.
If you go up if you have a dance party and you just came off a gravel driveway and you got rocks in your shoes, it will scratch. But if you don't tell them anything, if all you say is like, this stuff is raw, it's great, it's durable, it's awesome, and then they come back and say like, you know what, I had this party on my deck and it scratched up a bunch. And you're like, yeah, that can happen because, when you quit raw, now it sounds like you're trying to like cover your own ass.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't want to replace these boards. I'll say anything.
Yeah, exactly. You're looking out for number one, right?
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with giving people the heads up on some
and
real,
then they're
tangible knowledge.
Right?
Yep.
So then they phone the rep and the rep comes out and the rep's like, what happened? It was like, well, we had a dance party with shoes on. Did your installer or store tell you that was going to scratch? Nope.
Yeah.
They didn't say
Scratching
anything.
isn't warranted. Sorry.
Yeah. So
anyways, that's Trex. Why would you ever buy Trex?
Why would you ever buy Trex?
There you go.
Now you know.
There's a bunch of reasons why.
And now you know.
If you have any other questions about Trex, feel free to reach out to us through our Instagram page at The Ultimate Deck Shop or at The Shane Chapman, and we'd be happy to give you the answers. And if we don't know, we'll find out.
Man, I hope somebody from Trex that can actually get us on a plant tour is listening to this.
All of them are. They're all listening to it. Who knows, right? We'll see. Rob, thank you guys very much for tuning in.
Jamie.
We'll be back next week. And until then, keep fit and have fun.